If you're thinking about starting a brand or a business, here are 12 hard things that school will never teach you and things that I've had to learn myself through actually starting a multi-million dollar business. What's going on, everybody? My name is Miller McCoy, CEO and founder of Limitless MFG. We are a brand incubator and accelerator that currently has a brand portfolio that does right around $20 million annually. And I'm just going to be breaking down 12 points here that I've written out. I got my paper ready that I want to share with you guys that you're not going to be able to learn through school, and likely most of these you're going to have to learn through practice. But the first thing that I want to kind of touch on is nobody is going to be coming to save you, right? There are lots of solutions, or as they're put on the internet, lots of solutions, lots of different agencies, lots of different creative teams, people that always claim to have the solution, right? And don't get me wrong, once their brand gets to a certain point in time, I think that these solutions are actually what's needed for you to get to the next level, right? But when you're first coming out of the gate, nobody's there to save you, and at the end of the day, you're all you have. So you don't want to put your eggs all into one basket. You don't want to put your eggs all into one promise or one thing that, this is going to be what it is, right? It's up to you, If you're not pushing your own brand forward, no one else will, right? Brand or business. Anytime I say brand here, feel free to interchange it to business, There is no professor, there is no investor, there is no gatekeeper person that's going to be able to open the door for you and allow you to succeed kind of how you think it will or you'll need to, right? The second thing that I want to touch on is your logo doesn't really matter. I remember back when I was in high school, I ended up actually dropping out of high school, but that's a story for a different day. But I remember when I was back in high school, I took a graphic design class. And we spent, a whole semester or whatever it is, right, on learning how to build a logo. And don't get me wrong, sure, some of the skills that we learned doing that were good, right? How to image trace, how to use AI, how to use the right tools and stuff like that. That was good, right? But your logo, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the execution over the aesthetic, right? That's what really is going to move the needle. If you can't pitch your product and close, your brand will die in silence. A logo's not what makes people go, oh wow, I want to buy that. It's the story, it's the pitch, it's the emotions that it evokes, it's the feelings that are there. All of those things matter so much more than just the logo itself. The third thing I want to touch on is you will need to learn how to sell. And if you don't know how to sell, that's where I would suggest putting all your eggs, right? If there's one thing that you get from this video, just know you're gonna need to learn how to sell. Regardless if you want to be a brand owner, a business owner, if you want to sell product, or if you want to sell a service, or if you want to, whatever it is, right? It all starts with the sale. Even if you're into tech, right? You can make the most cool tech thing ever. But if you don't know how to sell it, if you don't know how to translate it to a common folk or a common person to make them say, oh my gosh, yes, this is what I need, this will change my life, this will change everything, then you're never going to sell anything, right? You're never going to be able to end up moving that needle. And when you're first starting, right, you're all you have. You don't have enough people or the funds or the team where you can just go have a sales team to do it on your behalf, right? The fourth thing that I want to touch on, and this one is really pretty directly related with school, right? School teaches you to ask for permission, right? Real business just punishes hesitation. So when you're running a brand or you're running a business and you're very school-minded, you feel the need to almost ask your audience for permission. You feel the need to ask your business partners or teams or whatever it is for permission to do X, Y, and Z. And that's not real. That's not realistic, right? As a business owner or a brand owner, You need to be willing to push the boundaries. You need to be willing to take the risks. You need to be willing to kick things up a notch and not be scared of the decision that you're making. It could be risky. Don't get me wrong. Business is risky. Trusting yourself to be able to feed yourself, your family, your loved ones, whatever it is, a team, right, is risky. But the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward, as they all say, right? So the way that you're going to be able to win faster is through speed. In business, speed wins. It beats perfection every time, right? You can always solve more problems. But if you have the idea first, if you have the product first, if you're able to come to market and do it first, you're going to have a huge advantage over those that are following you, the predecessors, the people that are coming behind you, right? Being able to have something done is better than perfect all day long, all year long, and that'll forever be something held into business, if that makes sense. The fifth thing that I want to touch on here, just because you're creative doesn't make you a brand. And I think I can prove this. Think of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is not creative, right? Like their packaging, their bottling. What works for Coca-Cola is not the new thing. It has been, let's be a cola that comes first to market, and we're fast to market, and let's just have a white logo that is text-based, and let's have a red background. That's what works, right? It's not the fact that they've made Cola 5.0 under a crazy name with a crazy bottle and crazy packaging and all of this sort of stuff. No. That's not where it works. So everybody that always thinks, oh, I'm a big creative, right? I'm really artsy. That's great. There's a powerful side to that, and I empower you to keep going into that. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't actually drive the brand. It doesn't actually drive the business. The creative side is important, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make you a brand just because you're creative, right? You're not a business until somebody pays you. So you need to treat your creativity as a business and not really a hobby. And again, it's not until somebody pays you. So I got to go back up to number 3, which is you need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to sell your creativity so that way you can actually become a business. The 6th thing that I'll touch on here is failure is your tuition, right? I ended up dropping out of high school. I did end up getting my GED, and I actually went and got my associate's degree. It was a simple associate's in liberal arts. Haven't probably ever done anything with it, but it's an accomplishment that I can hold to myself, and I like it. It's good for me. But where I've actually learned is, I started my first brand when I was 15 years old, 10 plus years ago at this point, right? And there's been lots of different failures that I've came across, lots, and that is where you're actually going to be able to do and have the learning moments that are needed. Ignorance can only get you so far. So when you are ignorant and you first come into business, you don't know what you don't know, and that's okay. At that point, it is more valuable to continuously try and fail than it is to have immediate overnight success. The longer you can delay the gratification of finding the success, the better your outcome in the long run is going to be. Your failures will teach you way more than any of your wins will. And in fact, I challenge you, if you're currently in a position in your life where you are having wins, learn something. Learn why you're winning, right? Learn what those wins mean to you, why they're happening to you. What have you done? It's a lot harder to learn those things from your wins than it is from your losses. What's important when you lose is you learn right away. why the hell you just lost, right? What just happened? Why did I lose this client? Why did my brand not take off? Why did my product fail? What just happened? It'll be pretty cut and dry. And there might be 10 things that go into it, you know? But when you win, you're absorbed in the glitz and the glam of the win that it's very hard for you to actually be able to reflect on what you're exactly doing to find the wins, you know? And the more you win in the short term, the harder it is to create the lifespan of these wins. However, when you're first jumping into business, you have nothing to lose. You have nobody to impress. It's just you. Maybe you and a buddy, whatever, right? You've got nothing to prove. The only thing that you have to do is continuously try. You can only fail if you quit. You can only fail if you quit. The more you try, the longer you play this game of business. And business is a game. And there's no final destination, right? The destination is the continuation of the game. That's what business is, right? So the more you fail, that's your tuition. That's how you can learn. That's how you can succeed. That's how you can turn your failures into continued lessons to keep teaching you how to be better and how to win more. The next thing I want to touch on is also going a little bit back up to the sales, right? Your first 100 sales in anything, whether it's a product or it's a brand or anything along those lines, is going to mainly be based off of pure hustle, right? So it's not going to be the perfect system. When you do 100 sales, I hope you don't have a perfect system. Again, you need to learn, right? Your first 100 sales are just going to come from pure determination, pure grit, pure hustle. And that's okay. You know, that will teach you so much more than sitting in a class will, and sitting in a sales class will, right? Your friends won't buy, your family won't support, you're gonna need to grind. And at first, sure, maybe you got a few buddies that are gonna buy your product. Maybe your mom feels happy for you or sad for you or whatever, and oh, here you go, right? Hey Miller, I like that shirt, let me buy one. That's okay, right? But your first 100 sales, your mom's not gonna buy 100 times in a row. Or dad or brother or cousin, whatever it is, right? Not going to get them to buy 100 times in a row. So your first 100 sales are going to come from that actual grit, grind, hustle. The 8th thing that I want to touch on is design is only 10% of the game, right? Especially in the product market. It's only 10% of the game. The other 90% is logistics, sourcing, customer service, marketing, fulfillment, warehousing, whole 9 yards, right? Everything that comes into it. If you're actually trying to start a real product-based business and you're actually trying to have it hit the next level, your design, very fractional bit. Just like the logo, right? Just because you have a logo doesn't make you a brand, right? Your logo doesn't matter. Your design doesn't fully matter. Yes, good design is helpful. It makes marketing a lot easier. It makes testimonials a lot easier. It makes people actually want to wear and support or use the product if it looks good. Don't get me wrong. But it's only a very fractional part. I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen a poorly designed brand, hoodie, product, and it's selling millions. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is the marketing behind it. What matters is the people that are behind it, the systems that are behind it. And all of these things, ideally throughout time, will get worked out. But at first, the design is such a small fraction. The 9th thing that I want to touch on is profits over popularity. This is really, really, really important if you want to have a longevity lifespan with your brand. A lot of people out here will start a brand, get some notoriety for it, get some clout, if you will, and they think that that's the goal. Look, maybe for some people, right? If that's what you care about, if that's what inspires you, turns you on, makes you feel hot, go for it. But I could tell you so many different influencers, celebrities, whatever, insert somebody with clout here, right? I can tell you so many people that don't even have $1 for every follower that they have. Maybe don't even have a quarter for every follower that they have. Popularity doesn't, if that's what you're going for, there's so many other ways that I would encourage you to jump into that as opposed to starting a brand, because at the end of the day, starting a brand is starting a business, right? They both take money, they both take time, they're hard, they're not easy. It's a lot easier to just focus on making viral TikTok content or YouTube short content or whatever it is. You know, a viral post is cute, but it's not going to pay your rent. Focus on building a business, not a social club. And hey, actually, there are a few social clubs out there that make great money. So if that actually is your business, cool, there's a way to do it, right? But just be very mindful. The goal is profits, not popularity and followers. The 10th thing I want to touch on is you will outgrow people, right? Your team, your partners, and even some customers. Growth is requiring for shedding dead weight. This is an important one, and this is one that I personally have battles and struggles with. But you will outgrow people. There will be people in your life that are here today that in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they're no longer around. Or they might still be around, but you've elevated yourself to a different tier in your life where they don't suit you anymore, right? You have different goals, you have different dreams. Your lifestyles don't mesh. They don't blend. You know, I live out here in the Hollywood Hills, right? And I used to love the party life, you know. I used to always love going out and having fun, for lack of better terms, right? But as I've began this journey of my life and this season of my life, for about the last 3 years or so now, none of that has entertained me. You can't get me out of the house unless I choose to go out of the house, right? Unless I personally want to go out of the house. And most of the times, I don't want to go to the party. I don't want to go to the event. You know, I've got other things that I enjoy doing with my time, like work. Work, I love it. I love it. Yeah, this is what juices me. It's what turns me on. You know, building, growth, all of these things. So you just remember, you will outgrow people, and the people that are around you today, you might get to a point in life where they're not around. Or maybe they're around you today, 5 years later, they're not around. 10 years after that, they come back around. That happens too. You just have to know that it's going to happen. 11, nobody cares what school you went to. So if you are going to college, if you are going to school, if it is something that you have a drive to do and you are choosing to do it and you are wanting to do it, I empower you to do it. But just be conscious, you know? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you go to a local community college. It doesn't matter if you go to a state school. It doesn't matter if you go to an Ivy League school. It's just merit at the end of the day. Your results, consistency, and execution will speak louder than any of those academic sort of privileges, for lack of a better term. I've got, I've got friends that have gone to Yale, Harvard, Stanford, University of Iowa, Iowa State, local community colleges like myself, right? At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the results you're able to generate for yourself, for your business, for your customers. That's what matters, and that will speak louder than any degree hanging on your wall. Any degree hanging on your wall. The 12th thing that I want to touch on, and this one might be a little shock or a little bummer, right? But it's true. Success is boring, right? Not only the path to success, but also once you've found some level of success, it's boring, right? You know, when I was having this conversation literally yesterday with a buddy. And when you're young and when you're trying to just get the business or get the brand started, and you're faced with all of these challenges, you're just solving these problems, and it feels like you're actually climbing this ladder and you're getting better and better each and every day. And don't get me wrong, we still are, right? I still am, and everybody that is continuously on this journey still is. But it'll hit a certain point, right? When it's smaller, it's manageable. It feels more gamified. But then you'll hit a certain point in your business where the systems have to work. And when they don't work, and they won't work, you have to figure out the solution, right? And it's not that fun, right? It takes real work. It takes money. It takes people. It takes brains. It takes so much different stuff. Success is boring. It's not that fun, right? Real builders don't chase cheap dopamine. They are in it for the love of the game. Just like I was saying earlier, the point of the game is to be able to continuously play the game. It's not about finding success and being able to leave the game. No. It's about enjoying and loving business for what it is. So I'll remind you, success is boring. Don't chase cheap dopamine. Execute, repeat, optimize, and stay consistent. Those are the 12 different tips that I have for you today that school will never teach you, that you're going to have to go out there and learn on your own. I hope you enjoyed this. If you are a brand builder, if you are somebody that is working on building a business or building a brand, I post videos like this all the time. I've got a podcast. You can follow me on the social medias. And then additionally, I've got a brand incubator and accelerator. If you are starting a brand, if you are or if you're trying to scale your brand, go ahead, check it out. Limitless MFG. I've got all the links down below in the description, as well as I'll put out the 12 little points that I have here. I hope this helped you and you got some value out of this. If you did, subscribe, like, share this with somebody, comment below. Thanks.